Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, Quarantine Edition. I hope you are all staying safe and healthy and in your homes. If I upload this in time, if I upload this late, then quarantine is over and it just shows how lazy I am, then I'm very sorry. But as of right now, I am filming this during lockdown. As we all know, the whole
world is going through a global pandemic and we are all stuck inside doing our part to
flatten the curve. I know what I'm saying. So in an effort to make today's video as short as possible, because there's a lot of content, I'm just gonna explain really fast what I'm gonna be doing, and all my descriptions are gonna be very short. So I'm gonna be rating a bunch of shows that I have watched so far during quarantine and recommending some of them to you or not recommending some of them to you. Basically just saving your time so you don't have to waste your time and watch crappy shows. Basically, I watched all these shows so you don't have to, or so you know if they're good or not and if they're worth sacrificing. Quarantine time. I'm just gonna explain the rating scale. So on the Jane rating scale, a 7 and above means I like it and I would recommend it. A 4 to 6 are like I don't regret watching it, there's nothing better to do, but like it wasn't amazing. And then a 3 and below I low-key hated. So number 1 on the list, most recently I watched Waco on Netflix. And it's about the situation that went down in Waco, Texas. As we all know, or might not know, it was in 1993. If it was before you were born, then you might not know about it. And yeah, it was pretty good. So I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I'm telling you, these are gonna be really short. The next thing my roommates and I watched was the first week of quarantine we watched this, and it's Chernobyl. It's on Amazon, and it just seemed fitting because the government mishandled the pandemic sort of in a way. So it really felt like it fit the times that we were in. And it was really, really good, really well done. 9 out of 10. The next one I watched was Parasite on Hulu, and oh my gosh. So I'm gonna give some time to Parasite because I really liked it. As we all know, Parasite is a South Korean film that won a bunch of Oscars, and it won Best Picture at the Oscars this year, won a bunch of awards, and it is worth the hype. It is so good. I don't want to talk about what it's about because I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but if you have watched this show and just took it at face value, what are you doing? The reason I love this movie so much is that it goes way deeper than the surface. I know that this director is known for having hidden meanings behind his films and for having a lot of symbolism and metaphors, etc, etc. So you really have to dissect this movie and see what represents what symbolism is happening, etc, etc. If you don't fully catch everything, like the underlying message, then I recommend you go online and read all the forums that have been written about Parasite, or watch videos on YouTube that have been created to explain and truly dissect the film, because I don't think the film will have as big of an impact if you just take it for the surface level of what it seems to be about. I've read online that people will watch it and like not look into it whatsoever and just see the surface value of the film, and they're not that impressed. They're like, why did this win an Oscar? And I'm like, you don't get it unless you understand the meaning behind it, you know what I'm saying? Okay, that was far too long of an explanation, but 9 out of 10, Parasite, you should watch it if you have Hulu. Another film I watched on Netflix was called The Platform, El Hoyo, because it's in Spanish originally, and it's also really good, similar to Parasite, a lot of symbolism, a lot of metaphors. 9 out of 10. Money Heist, Part 4. I've been waiting for this season for so long, and it did not disappoint. I thought it was really good. If you haven't heard of Money Heist, it's also called La Casa de Papel because it's Spanish, and it's a show on Netflix. It is the 3rd most watched show on Netflix worldwide. Like, it's behind Stranger Things and Umbrella Academy, and then it's Money Heist. So it's really good, and I loved season 4. 8 out of 10. Another show I watched was the reality TV show The Circle on Netflix, and it was good. It was really entertaining. 7 out of 10. The next show I watched was Sex Education. Now, I was a little bit wary about watching this because of the title, but then everybody was saying that it's a really good show, and by everybody, I mean people online, because I have no friends. And online, people were saying that it's a very woke show and it talks about a lot of different topics. And it's not all about sex, like it's about self-harm and mental illness and assault and violence and your relationship with your parents, etc, etc. And so I was like, you know what? I have truly nothing better to do, just like the rest of the world. So I watched it and it was really good. Like, I really liked it. Also, less explicit than Game of Thrones. I would give it a 10 out of 10. The only 10 in my list. Very woke, highly recommend. I also watched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I don't know what to tell you about it. It's good. Yeah, it was good. 8 out of 10. It's on Netflix. Our household went through a Timothée Chalamet phase during quarantine, and by our household, I mean my roommate. Because I went through a Timothée Chalamet phase in 2017, so I'm like over it, but like still a fan. Anyway, so we watched a couple of Timmy Tim Tim's movies. The first of which was Call Me By Your Name. You've probably heard of it. Very artsy. Was nominated for Oscars. Maybe won an Oscar. I don't know. And it was fine. It was on Amazon, and I'd give it a 6 out of 10. A little too artsy for me. Another Timothée Chalamet film we watched was Hot Summer Nights on Amazon. Same deal. Very artsy. If you like artsy films, then you will probably love it. And I'd also give that a 6 out of 10. A documentary that I watched on Netflix was Misrepresentation. It's from maybe 2011, so it's like kind of olderish. It was really, really good. It's about how women are portrayed in the media. I thought it was fantastic, and I would give it a 9 out of 10. We also watched Fighting With My Family. It was on Hulu, and it's based on a true story of a WWE fighter who's a female, and Dwayne The Rock Johnson is in it. It was a good film. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Marrowbone was like a horror sort of film that we watched at the very beginning of quarantine, and honestly, I'm not the biggest horror person. It's not like that scary, but it is like kind of scary and like jumpy, suspenseful, and I would give it a 6 out of 10. The reason we watched Marrowbone is because we as a household, and by a household I mean me, we're going through a George Mackay phase. Timothée Chalamet and George Mackay. He is in 1917. Very good film. And so we watched a bunch of George Mackay videos because they're all on Hulu. So yeah. The next film we watched, George Mackay on Hulu, was Captain Fantastic. He's not the main character, he's just in it. And it's with Viggo Mortensen, who is Aragorn in Lord of the Rings. And it's this family that lives off the grid, and it's like kind of political, but like both sides. Like just, I don't know. It's very interesting. Watch the trailer, I guess. But I'm gonna rate it a 6 out of 10 because it was cool. It was fine. I don't regret watching it. Next up is another George Mackay film on Hulu called Where Hands Touch, and it is about a couple that falls in love during World War II in Nazi Germany, and they are both Nazis, and it is the girl who plays Rue in The Hunger Games. She's also in a bunch of other films, but that I think is the most famous film she's in, and George Mackay, and they fall in love, and it just follows their story, and I would give that a 5 out of 10. Another film we watched on Amazon was Super 8. You might have heard of it. It's kind of old. I'd never heard of it. It's very sci-fi, reminded me a lot of Stranger Things, even though it came before Stranger Things. Aliens, end of the world sort of stuff, sort of feel. Not end of the world, that's not the plot, but like it kind of feels like it's the end of the world, which for some reason is a genre that we're focusing on right now during quarantine and this pandemic. It's on Amazon. I don't know if I said that, but I would give it an 8 out of 10. We also watched Mary Queen of Scots, which is on Amazon, and it was pretty good. It's about Mary Queen of Scots and Elizabeth in England, and it just follows their stories. And yeah, it was pretty good. It was decent. I didn't love it, but like I didn't hate it. Like it was fine. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. The last show I almost completed was Defending Jacob, which is a show on Apple TV. See, when you get a new iPhone, then you get Apple TV free for a year. So if you're one of those people, then you should definitely check out Defending Jacob because I actually really liked it. Chris Evans is in it. He is Captain America. Is it worth subscribing to Apple TV for? I don't think so. But like I really liked it. Like I watched it all. I sat in my bed and watched all of it at once because I thought it was really good. There were some parts of it that the writing felt like a little bit cheesy and a little bit predictable, but all in all it was pretty good. Like I'm very curious. Only the first 3 episodes are out right now, and then they're gonna release 1 episode per Friday, I think, or something like that. So the first 3 episodes are really good. Like I'm very curious as to what's gonna happen, and I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Okay, so this next section is gonna be called Films and Shows That I Started But Did Not Finish. Therefore, you don't have to waste your time, or you could just hear me out and maybe these things sound interesting to you. But some of these shows have got a lot of hype, / movies have got a lot of hype, and if you want to know what I thought of them, this is my honest opinion. I didn't finish any of these, but if they were TV shows, I watched at least 3 episodes, and if they were movies, I watched at least 70% of the film, and then just decided it was a waste of my time. So here we go. These are all on Netflix. Snowpiercer was one of the films I started and watched 70% of, and it is directed by the same man who directed Parasite. Very metaphorical, lots of symbolism, metaphors like I just said. Chris Evans is in it. it just kind of made me, you know, hate the government more. And it was a bit too real, you know? It was a bit too real. So I had to stop it, and I would give it a 6 out of 10. If that kind of like real harshness, symbolism, metaphor is like your cup of tea, then go for it, but I couldn't finish it. The next one was The Walking Dead. I've heard so much stuff about The Walking Dead. Everybody says that this show is amazing. I watched 3 episodes and I was very bored. The premise seems very good. I didn't understand the hype. I know lots of people will probably be like, you have to keep watching. No, stop. Like, if I didn't like it by 3 episodes, I'm probably not going to. So I'm just telling all of yous who have similar taste in film as me, honestly not worth the hype. Sorry. I'd give it a 5 out of 10. Another show I watched, so honestly this one I think it could have been really good. It was just a little bit slow for me, and it was the Frankenstein Chronicles. I think the premise was really good. It really reminded me of Sherlock, except for like back in the day. Honestly, I think I would have liked it if there hadn't been so many other choices of shows to watch. Like if the show had come on 10 years ago before I had Netflix and like it was on TV, I would probably really like it. But the pace was a little bit slow for me. But it's like basically this guy who's trying to find out like who's killing these children and like sewing them up, and then they're like kind of still alive. I don't know, it's Sean Bean's in it. He's the guy from Lord of the Rings, and he's in Game of Thrones also. It was okay. Like, it was well done, but it just wasn't my cup of tea apparently, and I would give it a 6 out of 10. If you like Sherlock, especially like the older episodes of Sherlock, you know, when they have like the flashbacks and they're like in the 1920s, I don't freaking know, when they're like back in the day type Sherlock episodes, then you'll probably really like it because it's a lot like that. This show, probably the most hype of any show during quarantine, Tiger King. So Tiger King, everybody was watching Tiger King. I'm pretty sure everybody was watching Tiger King because none of us had anything better to do with our lives. I watched all the episodes minus the last one, so I know most of what happens, and I honestly think it was like very overrated, but it was very fun to participate in like the meme culture and like the internet culture and like get all the TikTok jokes and stuff like that. That was fun. That was worth it. But actually watching the show, I was just like, what even is this show? Tiger King, if you don't know, it's about this guy who has a bunch of tigers, and he has 2 husbands that he keeps prisoners in his complex, and then there's this other guy who runs like a sex cult, and then there's this woman who like possibly killed her husband who's like out to get them. It's a hot mess. You watch the show and every twist and turn you're just like, what is happening? This is so wild. So if you're like really bored and you need just like dumb entertainment, then you might like Tiger King. But I just thought like it was kind of annoying. Like they all of them annoyed me. I honestly don't think Carol Baskin was the worst character. Like they were all just terrible, and she wasn't the worst of them. But you know, people want to hate her for some reason. Well, because she most likely killed her husband. But like, Joe Exotic like boiled his alligators alive, so you know, they're all just not that great. I would give that show a 4 out of 10. I also watched Legacies, which is a spin-off of The Vampire Diaries, and it's about the school of like werewolves and witches and etc from The Vampire Diaries, and they all live there, and there's someone who, I don't know, like it wasn't interesting enough for me to pay attention to the plot because I was just like, oh, this is so cringy. I remember CW shows. So I'd give that a 4 out of 10. I'm sorry. If you love CW shows and like the cheesiness and stuff, then you'll probably love it. But I don't know, I think I graduated from that, which is very sad because I used to love CW shows, but it's cheesy. It's just a stereotypical CW show. Next, I tried watching You, also very popular, about a stalker boyfriend, or a guy who like stalks this woman and then becomes her boyfriend. Very creepy and kind of overrated in my opinion. I'm sorry. 5 out of 10. Next, I tried watching Lock and Key, and it's just about this family that moves into this house that's like low-key magical, and they have all these keys that can do like cool things, like take them different places, and then there's a villain that they're trying to fight. You know, all the basic like fantasy show sort of things. And I really like the premise, but it kind of reminded me of like a teen drama. Not that there's anything wrong with those, but like, again, I feel like I've graduated from those shows, unfortunately, because I used to love them. So I would give this show a 6 out of 10 because it wasn't bad, but like I didn't love it. Elite Season 3, which is a Spanish show that I've been watching for a couple years now, and Season 3 dropped recently. I don't remember. Time just runs together in quarantine. And I loved Season season 1. I liked season 2. Season 3 was kind of a disappointment and I stopped watching. Maybe I'll start later in life, but I was kind of just like, it got too Gossip Girly for me. I don't know. Basically, the show is just all these kids go to the school and there's a murder and you're trying to figure out who did it and who died. And season 2 is kind of the same thing and season 3 is kind of the same thing. A lot of people freaking die at this school. It's a very Gossip Girly, except in Spanish. And I would give it a 6 out of 10. Season 3 specifically, because season 1 and 2 are really good. Next, I tried watching Code 8, which is a film with the guy from Arrow and another guy from The Flash, Stephen Amell, and his real life, the actor, his brother, something Amell. And basically, they have superpowers and they're trying to steal stuff. I didn't really like it. I would give it a 4 out of 10. The next film I attempted to watch was American Assassin, which I'm pretty sure is based on a book. Dylan O'Brien's in it, and I love Dylan O'Brien. He was in Teen Wolf, and he was in The Maze Runner. And basically, it's about this guy who's out seeking revenge on these terrorists that killed his girlfriend, and so he's like on a mission. I really like the premise, but like I don't know. It like the writing wasn't that good, the pace wasn't that good. It just really didn't keep me like that interested throughout the film, and I had to stop it. I'd give it a 3 out of 10. I'm so sorry to Dylan O'Brien because I'm such a big fan, but like it wasn't him. It was just the story wasn't that great. The next show I watched was The OA, which I heard about because there were people that were protesting when it got canceled. And I was like, okay, this must be a really good show because they were like hardcore protesting and like going on like hunger strikes about it. I don't even know. It was on the news and it was also like trending on Twitter. So I checked it out because I want to know what it was about, and it's basically this girl was blind growing up and then she disappears for a few years and then she shows up and she can see, and everyone's like, what happened to you? So she's kind of like explaining to certain people what happened to her, and there's like some sort of like sci-fi twist, but I don't really know what happens because I didn't finish it. It was really, really slow, and I'd give it a 3 out of 10. The last and final show I watched, and this is the only one that was on Hulu, is Killing Eve. Very popular. Lots of people love it. Basically, it's about this serial killer and this detective who are kind of just playing like a dance where they're like trying to find each other and like chasing each other. It's basically a relationship between a cop trying to find a serial killer, but the serial killer likes this cop, and so she like will stalk her and stuff like that. And like, I don't know. It is really well done. It's really well written. It's written by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who she's in Broadchurch, and she wrote Fleabag, which I heard is really good. Also haven't watched, but I heard it's really good. So I watched the first season of Killing Eve, and then I started the second season. I know the third season just came out. Like, it's just kind of slow. Like, I can tell that people would like it. Like, it seems like the type of show that lots of people would like, and it's got like really good ratings. It's got like 98% on Rotten Tomatoes or something. So there's nothing wrong with it per se. It's just not my cup of tea because it is kind of slow. There's like a lot of like humor in it, which I'm not used to. Maybe it's just like a little bit more lighthearted than I expected. Like, I was expecting something like Bodyguard, which is like really heavy and dark and intense, and then it was like a little bit lighthearted, which is great, but maybe it's just not what I was expecting. But it's not bad. Like, I liked it still. It's just not exactly my favorite show, and I would give it a 6 out of 10. So these are all the things that I watched during quarantine. Now you know what somebody's opinions are on them if you're debating watching something, or you can just ignore everything I said and I just wasted, I don't know, 15 minutes of your life, but we're all quarantined, so it doesn't matter. It's not like you had any other plans. So thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel and let me know if I should keep making videos while quarantined, or if you guys prefer vlogs, therefore I should just not film until we're out of here. Let me know. Okay, bye.